Good morning, everyone, or good morning from New York, depending on where you are, what time of day. Erin and I are in New York City. So for those who don't know me, I'm Kelly Hoey, author of the book, Build Your Dream Network. And I'm here with my friend, Erin Cronican. Good morning, Erin.
Hello, good morning.
So for those who don't know you, actress, executive director of the Seeing Place Theater, activist, and a whole lot more. Give an overview of your career. How'd you get into acting? Why acting?
Oh gosh. Well, I got into acting when I was a child, and I've got to be honest with you, I was really good at memorizing things. So when the play Charlotte's Web came up to audition for at the local youth theater, I was like, I've memorized that movie. I can do that. And I auditioned and I got cast. So at 9 years old, I was on stage for the first time playing a gander. And the gander is not in the movie, but is in the book. It takes half of the goose's lines, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, it was my first of many gender bending roles that I played up through college until I finally got out into the real world and no longer was asked to play male roles. Interesting.
Well, Shakespeare's time, the men played the women, so why not, right?
Exactly.
So where'd you go to school and what'd you study?
I went to Pepperdine University back in California, and I studied theater.
And I'm going to say, sometimes before 9, we have other career ambitions. You, before 9, was it, you were just...
No, I mean, I did a lot of other things because I didn't go the bartender server route, which probably would have been much better for me. Ultimately, it probably would have accelerated my career as an actor much more quickly because I didn't, but I went into the corporate world. I was working at a national advertising publisher in the sales and marketing departments. So I cut my teeth in the corporate world, and then I moved over to the nonprofit world after that. Worked as a communications director for a small nonprofit in California, and then moved to New York to try to pursue the dream of acting. And that was 15 years ago. I started my theater company with my partner almost 12 years ago now. So, yeah.
Okay. So like having now lived in New York for 22 years. Yes. I'm going to say and we think of movies like Fame, that someone's a waiter and they're cutting their teeth on acting, or when I was in law firms, the receptionist, the night secretary, somebody was like writing a screenplay, doing whatever, but you studied theater and you went into corporate.
Yeah. Weird. Really weird. Well, my family wanted me to have something stable, and you can't just jump right into the arts anyway. So I chose stability. And also I got a job offer. So it made it easier to just take it and try to make it flexible for my career, which did not work. I finally quit when I realized I can't.
Yeah. My family wanted me to stability, so I went to law school. So, I think theater to corporate. I know this was not what we were going to talk about, but let's touch on this for a second. So you got this job offer. I'm just thinking right now, even though we're so tech fixated in terms of where we are looking at sending people for their degrees and everything else, what's the benefit, for the corporate world of having an arts degree? Someone like hiring people who are coming out of the arts?
I think probably the biggest thing is how adaptable we are, because we're trained to put ourselves into other people's shoes. So we're able to really empathize with others. I mean, generally, I wouldn't say everybody is great at that, but it is really a skill that you learn, how to imagine what it's like to be other people. So that works really well in sales, works really well in marketing, to try to get in the mindset of other people, being adaptable so that you can handle stresses that come your way, because being in the arts is incredibly stressful. What else? I mean, those are the core things I'm thinking of.
Oh, that's like, there we go. That's all I needed on question you weren't anticipating. Not that we'd had this scripted, as people can tell, because we're just like hanging here at the water cooler. Oh, I'm going to go and see. We have some comments. Oh, hello. We got all sorts of people. Just a sec. This is one of the things I love about StreamYard. Hello, India. Thank you for checking in. And look, we got Keith, Long Beach. Hey, Keith. Good morning. Really morning for you. Nice and early. There we go. Somebody else. In India, working in Saudi Arabia. Here.
I love this.
And we know where Claire is.
Hi, Claire.
Hey, Claire. Okay. Okay, I just kind of want to start dancing when I hear Copacabana. Sorry. Yeah, just kind of has to be done. Ghana, there we go. Bangladesh, I'm just looking down. Nigeria, there we go. UK, this is like, there we go. All sorts of fun stuff. Okay, so back to our regularly, now that I've got the comments, and oh, there we go. Scranton, Pennsylvania. Awesome stuff. Okay, so you mentioned this. You are and I mentioned this when I introduced you, executive director and co-founder of the Seeing Place Theater.
Yes.
You started it 12 years ago. What's this? I know what the Seeing Place Theater is. I have experienced your productions. What's the Seeing Place Theater and why'd you start it?
Well, one of the interesting things just to start is that the phrase "the seeing place" is the direct translation of the Greek word for theater. It actually means the place we go to see ourselves.
Yeah. I'm going to say you've got your coworker there. I did an interview with Jessica Peltz, Zatuleva, a venture capitalist, and her coworker, her 1-year-old daughter, joined us. So if your coworker, four-legged, would like to join us.
Yes, this is Touchstone.
Hello, Touchstone.
Just sitting on my lap. I've got another one on my lap over here as well. This is Festy. Whoa.
There we go. Oh, there we go. So yeah, there we go.
Hi. Hello.
Hi. Very dramatic pose there.
Very dramatic.
So anyway, yay, this is what you get with live video in this age. And
yes,
you know what? I think at the beginning of COVID, we were all futzy on like, get the production right, make sure it's all perfect. And like a year in, happy 1-year anniversary. This is a year of lockdown in the UK. I was listening to the BBC News. Like, who the F cares? Like, stuff falling in the background, pets, kids, who cares? All right. Seeing Place, direct translation, the word theater.
Yes. So that means the place we go to see ourselves. And that was something that we were missing in New York theater. We were missing the intimacy of really feeling like you go to see a show and you feel so immersed in the story that you feel like it could be happening to you or could be happening to someone you know, or you're learning about someone that you've never met. You're learning about other people. And so we aim to, because New York is such a commercial town and the shows are so big, the audiences are so big, the stages are so big. So we wanted to create something that was smaller and more intimate, and doing plays that we wanted to do as actors instead of waiting for the phone to ring and having someone else hand us a role. Why don't we create the kind of work that we've always wanted to do? And that's why we created the Seeing Place.
That is such a lesson, I think, for all of us. At any time, but particularly right now, like what's the thing you want and can you create it for yourself? I just absolutely love that. And you completely pivoted to virtual,
yes.
And being a New Yorker and having lived almost on top of the theater district over the last 7 years. I mean, the theater district has been dark, but you were like, okay, what do we do? So talk about making that pivot.
Well, we have an ensemble of actors that we work with year round. We work in training with them every Monday. And so we couldn't stop just because there was a pandemic, but we had to figure out what's the way that we can do so safely. And so thankfully Zoom and things like Facebook Live, all these different streaming platforms came up that made it possible for us to continue to work together. But there was a malaise, there was a sadness that was creeping over everyone in the theater company because we weren't creating. And so we started thinking, well, how could we create, but also really help make a difference for those that are suffering right now? So we created a series called Ripple for Change. With the idea is that if you drop a pebble in a pond, then there is a ripple that happens, and that is how change occurs, which is a bastardized comment from Tim Cook. And we started this series where we pick a play that has a social relevance, and then we figure out what that theme is and choose a nonprofit that we want to partner with, and we raise money for that nonprofit, raise visibility, do a talk back panel discussion on the work that they're doing, to try to figure out what are the next steps to take a piece of art that oftentimes people think is just entertainment and ask what's next. What can we do as global citizens to make a difference in this particular area?
Yeah. I'm just listen to this. Gotta say hi to Eve Toddy. Glad to see you, Eve. And having now me sitting in the audience, one of the things I love with you pivoting and how you've pivoted to digital during this time, there's probably a number of things. One, that you do partner with a charity, but you're not just partnering with a charity, you're ensuring that the actors and people producing your show are also getting paid, which is phenomenal, right? So there's something that really feels like, as sort of a theater goer, so to speak. It's sort of like, wow, like there's a lovely warm outcome to this, but this is not just charity. This is people's livelihood and people being able to, work their craft, which for all of us, work gives us meaning, relationships give us meaning, work gives us meaning, all of these kinds of things. But also that, when it's live, it's live. It's like, I turn my phone off, I put my phone on do not disturb. I do all those things because people are like, hey, I'll call you Saturday night. I'm like, no, I've got theater. Like, it's not like I can pause the video.
Right.
Like I've had those where I've had like access to a production for 24 hours and I can watch it anytime. No, I have to get my butt in my seat for the theater, just like if I was heading down to the theater district. So talk about why that format and how you've been able to master that, the whole ensemble, your team.
Well, we want that same sort of feeling of being able to perform live, and that in the theater, it's you've got this one chance. This play starts and you're going to go. It's a train that does not stop until it hits the station at the end, right? So that's something really thrilling to be able to have as an actor. But also, we love that moment at the end where we ask everyone to turn their cameras on and applaud our actors. And so we do get that. Excuse me, the interchange, at least at the end. We don't get it during the show like we typically would in a theater, but we do get that recognition. And then we do a Q&A at the end so that the audience members who have something they want to say can do so. And it really reminds the actors that there are people out there who are consuming this art and they appreciate it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Did it take long to get used to things? Like I'm sitting here looking at how I'm positioned with the camera and I'm like, no, move this. Did it take a while? Because I know your last play, it was like people in a bar. So they had to look like they were all like sitting around the bar. And the one actress who was like passed out drunk on the bar. And I'm like, okay, like that's staging when you've got everybody in the little, Zoom boxes. Does that take a while as an actor to get used to kind of going? Okay, no,
yes. As a matter of fact, we had it was really fun. A couple of our actors did these little behind the scenes videos to show what their station looked like, because they're in spaces that are really no bigger than 4 feet by 4 feet. But they've got, especially our bartender who had a whole table in front of his computer, and he had glasses that he just kept using, then putting over here, then using that one and moving it over here. And it just really looked like he was running a bar.
Yeah.
So it takes a long time to design that, but it's really fulfilling when we can get it, make it work.
Oh, that's so great. That's so great. All right, let's talk about your upcoming production or your next production, Wit. Now, for those who don't know the play, give us the backstory on that play, when it came out. I think did it win a Pulitzer?
Yes, it won a Pulitzer Prize. And interesting story. This is the first and only play by this playwright. She wrote the play and then was like, "I've done it. All right, great." So she went back to went back to her life after that. She teaches and that's it.
Hit a grand slam home run and say, you know what, one and done. I'm good.
Yeah, her name is Margaret Edson, and it's a beautiful play about cancer. It features a woman who right at the very beginning of the play is diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. And she is a professor, a very hard-nosed professor who delights in research. She delights in hard work. And so she thought that she could battle her cancer the way she would battle literature and the poems of John Donne. That's what she's a scholar in. And so she decides to get the toughest chemotherapy, even though it's only experimental, and we watch her go through this process throughout the play of dealing with this illness and dealing with the different doctors and their different levels of bedside manner. It's a beautiful, beautiful play.
Wow. I mean, you could switch the lead in the industry she is in and the gender for any kind of hard-driven, career-focused, hustle culture, BS kind of thing where everything else gets tossed aside. And I'm guessing that's the reason you picked this play.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. There's a scene in the play where it's a flashback to when she was in college and she's talking to her mentor, and the mentor says, your paper is crap. You're not getting the heart of what we're trying to learn here. And the character Vivian says, okay, I'm going to go rewrite it. And the teacher says, you know what? Don't. Go out and get some sunshine. Go out and live your life. Then your papers will be better. And this just is not a lesson that she is equipped to learn. And she says, no, I rewrote the paper.
Yeah. I want to say it's almost like a modern Christmas Carol.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. This is amazing. Now, why? So when did this play originally come out?
This play came out in the early 2000s. The late 90s. And then it ran on Broadway in the early 2000s. It ran on Broadway in 2012. It ran off Broadway in the early 2000s.
Okay. So why a decade, 2 decades later, why did the Seeing Place Theater say this play is relevant now?
So this is where we get super personal, super water coolery personal. So I have stage 4 cancer, and I reveal that to everyone. It's fine. Right now, my cancer is stable. It's still there, but it's not growing, which is really great. But this is the play that when I got diagnosed, I pulled this play off my shelf and read it out loud to myself, crying my eyes out, because here I had known this play. I had done it before and played the nurse, but now my life was in the play as the cancer patient. And it makes you think about, what is precious to you? How do you live your life? Do you have any regrets in your life? And if I have, I told myself my life expectancy with this particular cancer is 3 to 5 years. So I was like, all right, so I need to assume it's only 3. What can I do in 3 years that's going to make a difference? And I thought doing this play and trying to bring the cancer community into the arts community would be really compelling, especially for cancer patients to be able to see their lives played out in front of them. Would be a very cathartic experience for a lot of them. It could also be triggering, but I think it's a very cathartic play. And I think people will say, yes, that's my life. That's what I deal with on a daily basis. And there's something really beautiful about that.
Thank you for sharing your personal, I know as friends, I know that, but I was, wasn't going to assume this is what you wanted to raise and talk about at the water cooler today.
Yeah.
And then I want to say, is there, your own diagnosis also comes and your own treatment comes at a very interesting, lack of a better word, time in our world of a pandemic. Do you think this play beyond which unfortunately the cancer community is huge in the world, but all of us are now in some degree affected by COVID and wondering, the wrong handshake, the wrong sneeze, the wrong social distancing, and I could be lying there intubated,
Exactly.
unexpectedly watching my life race by and reflecting on my choices.
Exactly. And it also asks us, what do we want from our medical professionals? What kind of care makes the most sense? And most of us want to fight with everything that we have, but there's also something that's known as compassionate care. So, when are the moments where you need the morphine because the pain is too much? That is also fighting. Even if it's palliative, it's still a fight. And these are questions that we don't even think about until we get into those situations. Like what I want from my life, what constitutes life, how much fighting do I want to do, how sick do I want to get with the treatment that I'm being offered. And it's a consideration when you're going through chemotherapy like I am. I'm on a regimen now that gives me some side effects, but they're not as bad as others. I'm not nauseous, which is lucky. I can still eat, which is lucky. But I'm terrified for the day that this treatment doesn't work and I have to switch to something else. And then what's going to happen? Yeah. What are the side effects going to be? How hard is it going to be?
Right.
And that's what this doctor, the doctors and this patient have to deal with in this play.
Yeah, it's I'm going to say, I think so much with our medical system under such, and I would say this about any country, such enormous strain right now. You don't want to be critical of nurses or doctors or anyone on the front line, but we do have to question, what is it that we expect and we do need. They are dealing with, sort of triage right now to make sure that we all either stay alive or get vaccinated. But going forward, how do we envision care that is not just so reactionary? How can we look at all of this? I also wonder, and you hit on this in terms of fight, I'm wondering what was going through my mind when you said that, Erin, is, for those of us who have been trusting in the science of how we get out of the pandemic, do you think some of our anger is this towards those who have not chosen to live their lives under, the CDC recommendations or World Health recommendations? Do you think some of our reaction to that is that sort of human fight for our lives? Do you think that some of that's that?
I think so. I think it's a fight for control. And I don't mean control between individual people, but we all, I think, in this time of COVID and the pandemic, feel a loss of control. Like we have no power over anything that happens. And so, but I can wear this face mask, and if someone else is not wearing one, then I start to feel like, well, you're taking my life in your hands and I have no control again. So if everyone were doing their part, I think that's why there's so many people who are angry. And then similarly, I think people who don't wear face masks are also doing the same thing. They want to have a little bit of control over their lives. And if they don't have to, wear the face mask, maybe they just won't, Yeah,
I'm seeing that is the case. I'm seeing here, Jamie's getting to where and hey, Jamie Field, good to see you, lady. It has been a while. All right. When is WIT happening?
Well, we're going to do this play live. And so we're waiting for, I know, live and in person, when we can get our theater back and we can have audiences in the theater again. And so we're hoping that we'll be able to open up again by the end of the year. So we're thinking December, but if not, it'll be early 2022. We just feel like this play is important enough to get people in the same room, even if we have to wait to do that.
And I haven't paid with so much going on with New York, New York state politics these days. I haven't quite paid attention to with what is the opening. Is there any word on when the opening of theaters in Broadway?
Well, they did say that you can start having gatherings indoors on April 2nd. But they've made it very, very specific. It has to be 33% of capacity, nothing above 3,400 people, whatever is the most, which Broadway cannot survive on anything less than full houses. Shows close when they are less than 75%. So it won't be opening anytime soon until everyone is vaccinated. And then the protocols will still be there for the safety with masking and it's going to take quite a lot, especially because those theaters too, they have a lot of money on Broadway, but they're very old. Mm-hmm. And so their electrical systems and their HVAC systems are not the best. So it costs quite a bit of money, right? They're old, historic theaters.
Yeah. So, I've wandered into some of those old theaters. Okay, so we're going to have to wait for WIT unless we can find, an outdoor theater or something maybe. But now, past productions that you have done. Well, first of all, what's the website for the Seeing Place Theater so everyone can find out where you're at?
That's it, theseeingplacetheater.com.
Okay, so theseeingplacetheater.com. I saw this morning an email. You have a Patreon going on.
Yes.
If someone becomes part of that, what do they get for joining?
Yeah, we just launched our Patreon program, which means that fans of the Seeing Place or fans of theater can get behind the scenes content and exclusive content delivered right to their inbox, or they can log into their account and see it. They can see that right away. There are a bunch of different levels. So as little as $5 a month get you into the conversation. And how that helps us is it gives us cash flow, because if you can imagine a business that only makes money when they're making ticket sales, you can only be doing a show a certain amount of months per year. The rest of the months per year, how do you have that cash flow? Now we do write grants and we do win grants from both the government and from private foundations, but those are geared towards productions. So that money goes towards those productions. So when we're not in production, how do we pay for our meeting space? How do we pay for the technology that we use? So we're trying to create innovative ways to give back to our audiences in exchange for a little bit of, Starbucks money every month.
That's awesome. And I would say, if people wanted to watch past productions like the ones I've seen, is there a way to do that? Are you going to become part of your Patreon, join the Seeing Place community? How can we drive people to watch the recordings of what were live online productions?
Right. Well, the ones that were live online productions, unfortunately, because of our union contract, we aren't allowed to share those anymore. We had a very short window of being able to share them. However, we do have one production that we recorded several years ago that we are giving away for free for anyone who wants to join our mailing list. So you just join our mailing list and you immediately get that link to be able to go to YouTube and watch this play called Danny in the Deep Blue Sea, which is a very well-known play by John Patrick Shanley.
Okay, so theseeingplacetheater.com, right?
Right, exactly. And it's theater with an ER, although you'll get there with the RE. We own that domain name as well. We own them all.
Yes, I want to say those of us from the Commonwealth originally, we like the theater. I want to say, loving seeing Kirsty here. Yes. I'm going to say we need more of the creatives. You'll love this. One of my nephews who was studying computer science, he's 2 years in and he's flipping over to philosophy. I'm like, you got the computer science under your belt. You can pick that up. You can take a course and master that one. I'm thrilled he's going to be studying philosophy, or having both of those things, his major and his minor.
What an exciting combination.
I know.
I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the humanity with the technology. Oh, funny. Gosh, don't we need that right now?
Exactly. Well, that's another thing that, based on what Kirsty is saying in the chat, you know, creativity is something that artists bring, and people who are studying things like philosophy, they bring that sort of innovation and that innovative thinking and the creativity in their brains to whatever jobs they're doing.
Right. Breaking down the scene, understanding what the real problem is, understanding the motives of all the different, characters, vital skills.
Yeah.
Well, this, my friend, has been like really awesome just to hang here. I want to say this morning with you. Anything else you want to share, talk about? Anything else people should know?
I mean, I think people probably already know about you, but I'm sure you'll do a little bit of fancy talking about your wonderful book and the things that you're doing as well. Any updates from you?
They hear it ad nauseum for me, but yes, this one. See, look, I need to come and take an acting. You know what? I need to come and take a session with your actors to figure out how to use these platforms properly so I can get the mirror imaging right. All right, seeingplacetheater.com. Oh, where are you on Twitter?
Oh, you can follow me, Erin Cronican, on Twitter, or if you want to follow The Seeing Place, it's The Seeing Place on every platform. It's just The Seeing Place, as in seeing with your eyeballs.
I love it. I love it. This has been a joy, my friend. Thank you for joining me at the water cooler. And everyone, I'll be posting more of these water cooler conversations, more coming with some authors, some startup folks, just whoever I'm in the mood to chat with at the water cooler. So, and you know what, Erin, when you've got kind of more news on WIT, will you come back so we can?
Oh, I would love to. I would love it.
Yeah. All right, we'll put the kettle back on. All right, everyone, go forth and conquer the day. Good to see you all. Thanks for coming. Thanks. And tell others to come and watch when we have these, or watch the video as it's streaming, or the recording of the video now that it's streamed on YouTube, Twitter, or LinkedIn. All right, have a good Tuesday.
Bye, everyone.